Hey there guys, John Campea here for the Movie Blog, and I'm here to give you my quick review of the new James Bond film Skyfall. Now look, Casino Royale knocked it out of the park. It exceeded all of our expectations. It was just that good. Daniel Craig steps in and becomes what I consider to be the greatest James Bond of all time. Now then, Quantum of Solace comes, and it's a bit of an understatement to say that Quantum of Solace was a bit of a letdown. But the thing about it though was, you could tell all the elements were there. They had all the pieces there. So even though Quantum of Solace wasn't so great, it didn't make any of us want to jump off the James Bond ship because you still knew all the right elements were there. Well, now comes Skyfall. The trailers have looked amazing. Daniel Craig's coming back, and they add Javier Bardem as a villain. So is this movie worth it? Well, let me give you my positives and negatives. On the good side, James Bond is James Bond in this film. There's a lot of James Bond-isms, if I can make up that phrase. You know, the womanizing, the cool as a cucumber, the super suave, but at the same time, being a bit of a badass. There's some great one-liners in the movie, which you come to expect from a good Bond film. A lot of the action set pieces are fantastic, and that includes like the first 15 minutes of the film, which is just one big, huge, long action set piece that was really quite impressive. One of the other things I liked about it is that I don't find the James Bond movies quite give enough homage to the Bond films that came before it. And I find in this James Bond film there was an awful lot of eye-winking, acknowledging the past Bond films. That was just really quite good. The supporting cast, and I'm not talking about Javier Bardem yet, but the supporting cast are all quite strong, really good, and it feels like a classic Bond kind of tale. On the downside of this film, let me start with Javier Bardem. First of all, Javier Bardem is a brilliant performer. Take nothing away from him. And he performs brilliant in this film. The problem I have with the Javier Bardem character is that they set him up to be this, and I hate it when movies do this, they set him up to be this all-powerful, all-knowing, all-evil, all-invincible villain, which you kind of got to do if you're going to put him up against Bond. But the problem is they don't introduce him until like the last part of the second act. So it's I felt like to me that it was well past the midway point in the movie that he even comes into the movie. But one of the things that I hate that films do is when they give you this ultimate power villain, but then about 20 minutes later, he's just another babbling idiot. He's just another fool henchman or just another stupid bad guy who doesn't know up from down. And I really felt that in this. I felt like Javier Bardem was set up as such a great villain, especially there's this opening scene with him. When the first time we see him and Bond and they're just sitting in this room together, you kind of get a glimpse of it in the trailer. Awesome scene. So brilliant and captivating, and it's just the subtle machismo is flowing between Bond and Bardem, and it's just such a great scene. But unfortunately, after that, he kind of becomes a bit of a moron. Yeah, he sets up this brilliant strategy thing, but then he just becomes this emotionally driven guy who makes all the stupid mistakes that an idiot like me would make. One of the other things that I didn't quite really like about this film is that while the scenes were great, the connecting tissue between the scenes weren't so great. Like, for instance, okay, Bardem has this master plan for trapping Bond, but they made it so unbelievable. It's like, wait a minute, you planned for Bond to catch up with you, get off 20 shots at you, and each miss you by that much? That was part of your plan? I mean, there was just, that sounds small, but I don't want to give anything away. There was just too many scenes like that throughout the film that I just really couldn't sink my teeth into. But still, overall, Craig is an awesome Bond. There is a lot of Bond-isms. The action set pieces are great, and I think all of those are enough to overcome the weaknesses of a great villain who kind of falls apart as you get closer to the end of the film, and through some just unbelievable logic leaps that they expect us as an audience to make. Overall, this is still a good film, and I'm glad I saw it. It's nowhere near as good as Casino Royale, but it's also much better than Quantum of Solace, so I'm going to put it right there in the middle. And right in the middle there is still really good ground. I am going to give the James Bond film Skyfall a 7 out of 10, and I recommend you go check it out. Thanks a lot for joining me for the Movie Blog. I'm John Campea.